As human beings, we all tend to feel the need to belong, as in a sense of belonging matters. We do want to feel that we belong somewhere. We do want to feel that we are included. We do want to feel that we are accepted. And we do want to feel that our differences are in a way celebrated as well, so embraced. We tend to be bombarded by beauty ideals which are constantly being portrayed in social media. So this type of portrayal can, in a way, also suggest that the society can have maybe the potential to define as well as to what is beautiful, okay, which then in some way or the other can also put some social pressure on us women to then ask the question, for example, or should we conform, in the sense that should we conform and agree that appearance matters so much, because this is what we tend to see around us all the time. Now, this social pressure can potentially, depending on how you experience it and how much you conform to it, can also have a negative influence on your well-being as a woman. So all of us, we have a perceived actual self, so who we think we are, and a perceived ideal self as well, who we want to be, as in our best self. We have to be realistic as much as possible. Now, there is nothing wrong to strive for perfection. That's perfectly fine, that's perfectly healthy, because again, we do want to get closer and closer to our perceived ideal self, right? Which is fine. However, this needs to be very realistic, and it needs to happen in a way that makes you happy rather than miserable. So that's the point when you know that you're engaging in something, or a comparison, for example, which makes you feel good about yourself by improving rather than miserable because you're not able to achieve or be who you want to be because it's way too unrealistic, for example. So as a teenager, you tend to be exploring your identity. You want to search for an identity, and you do want to answer the question, who am I, right? And sometimes in the context of social media, it can also be a question as in, who do I want to be? Okay, so talking about identity formation as a teenager, what we tend to observe as well is that teenagers do like to seek social approval, in the sense that as someone who is growing up, who is part of a society, sometimes we do want to gain approval from the society, some form of validation as well. We do want to fit in and be part of a bigger group. What tends to happen is young people want to measure, perhaps not consciously, but more subconsciously, they tend to measure the gap between their actual self and their ideal self. Now, if this gap is quite big, then more likely that they will actually experience a negative influence on their self-esteem and body image as well. Because in their eyes, they're not able to identify themselves with these people, and society seems to be valuing them, for example. So this is the danger that we can potentially see or encounter in relation to the influence of the fashion industry and the beauty industry on our young people. Obviously, I'm from an ethnic minority background, and as an academic working in the field of fashion has maybe in a way made me a little bit more aware or conscious of the fact that different ethnic groups are perhaps still underrepresented. However, my message would be, or my response would be this, which is being different is what makes you beautiful. So what people need to remember, especially the young people, is to embrace your differences and remember your differences are what make you unique as an individual.